All right. I think we're getting there. I think we are streaming. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. I am your host, George Miller. I'm here with you every week to talk to you about social and emotional intelligence in your career. And there's a few ways that you can get questions answered. You can type them into the comments section. You can type your questions and comments into the comment section. And you can also jump in directly here on the Zoom line. I love it when you do that. When you do that, I'm able to speak with you directly, can ask you more questions, and we can have a dialogue. And so there's a couple of ways for you to join in. Again, you can jump in here directly on the Zoom line, or you can view in through LinkedIn Live or YouTube. Again, you can type your questions into the comment section. So I will talk a little bit about today's topic, but I want to remind everybody that you can ask any question you want that has to do with career. It does not have to be particularly with today's topic. It can have anything to do with career, anything on your heart, anything from whether you're interviewing or managing or looking at what you want to do later in your career. Any of the journey that you're on is welcome here. So, don't worry about whether or not it has to do with the topic of elevating your career using soft skills. So, what are soft skills? Soft skills is referring to our connection, to how we interact. What are our, how personable are we? What kind of rapport do we build with people? So these are referred to as soft skills. Hard skills are like, technical skills that you learn, things that you learn as a trade. How good of an engineer are you? How good of a mechanic are you? How good of a project planner are you? And those hard skills are really important, and soft skills are increasingly important. We have a very complex world. It's probably always been complex, but we've made it like really complex with all of our technology and forms of communication. And so navigating that and being able to have different groups communicate is a challenge. And so one thing that we can all do that will enhance our productivity, will enhance our quality of life at work, is to develop our soft skills. Anybody can do this at any time. I think that's a one big takeaway I want everybody to get from this, is that even if you think of yourself as an introvert, as somebody who's more alone and on your own and very in your head, you can learn soft skills. You can learn how to be more emotionally intelligent. So great. Oh, cool. I'm getting some questions coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting to these questions. I'll say again, I love it when you jump in directly here on LinkedIn or on Zoom. But if you're watching the stream through LinkedIn Live or YouTube and you're unable to join in, you can always type your questions into the comment section. And if you have a question that you want to remain anonymous, just put that in the chat. Just say, hey, I want to stay anonymous here. And I will get to your question and we'll keep you anonymous. So we have a question coming from Miriam. I'm looking at this opportunity. I'm looking at this as an opportunity to sell my soft skills. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm just taking a look here to see a little bit more about the conversation. Okay. So she wants to sell her soft skills to prospective clients versus interviews. Oh, yeah. So you'll hear me talk about interviews and how to interview well, but the same basic skills translate to client meetings. The same basic skills of interviewing well are going to help you with any kind of negotiation that you're working on. And so, Miriam, great question. I'm so glad you asked it because I do often talk just about interviewing and how the approach that is most effective is for you to interview the interviewer. So, we'll talk a little bit about this meeting with prospective clients. A way to use soft skills is to ask questions um, and identify where the challenges are that your client or your prospective client is having. Um, and most sales or most business owners get a lot of people trying to sell them stuff. And so time is, it's very easy to be an annoyance rather than a benefit when talking to prospective clients. So, yes, you're going to want to interview your prospective client. Take that approach, to get to know them. But what you really want to do is instead of trying to sell yourself, instead of trying to point out that they have a problem that you're going to solve, like that is such a used tactic that I, I don't think it works that well anymore, and it tends to kind of turn people off. And if somebody's still talking to you while you're using that tactic, it means they really do need something. So instead of approaching the client conversation from a point of interviewing them to see what their problems are, do that a little bit, but also focus on, do you want to work with them? Like maybe it's a good analysis to kind of hold it this way, like, okay, I'm talking to a prospective client, and let me just see if things were to go really hard in this relationship. Like, if let's just say that the market changed in all these kinds of ways, and things got really problematic and hairy. Is this a business or an individual that I would want to go into that kind of scenario with? That has you being way more self-respecting, and you get kind of a better, um, instead of coming from a place of scarcity and like trying to sell yourself and kind of lacking, it'll help you be more objective in your conversation with a prospective client. So that's the overall approach. Now we can dig in even deeper. And Miriam, it looks like you're going to be reviewing this video later. So I I'm going to this is the topic for the day. So I'm going to dig in a little more here, and I'll share with everybody. I love it when you jump in directly on Zoom. I can work with you directly that way. If you can't, no problem. You can always type your questions into the comment section. And if you're on Zoom and you've got a question, let me know. Let me know what you'd like to dig in today. So you can go ahead and type in the chat or come off mute at any time and just speak up and let me know what you're wanting support with. But I'm going to return back to Miriam's question. And if you've been in here before with me, you know that even if you ask a super technical question, I'm going to do my best to bring it back to what I'm comfortable with, which is social and emotional intelligence. That's my expertise. So with using soft skills with prospective clients, I just laid out the strategy of interviewing them to see if you really want to work with them, to see if their problems and if they're people like who are going to listen to you. Like if you're doing if you're consulting or something, and you might be like, geez, this business like really needs what I do. Well, that may be the case, but are they going to be any fun to work with? Or are they going to be a headache and, overall, I don't know, take you somewhere you don't necessarily want to go? So asking that, so really interviewing to see, just the same way that when you're at a job, if you're doing job interviews, you interview to see if you even want to work there. And I know it's a challenge when you're coming from like, hey, I need a job, I need income. And when you're talking to prospective clients and you're like, I need a deal here. So it's hard. This is a hard thing to do. So that being said, now I'm going to go into the basics of emotional intelligence: fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy. These core five feelings. And I want to give a big shout out credit to the Wright Foundation, to Doctors Bob and Judith Wright, for putting together a curriculum that takes so many different kinds of feelings and boils them down into core ones that I think we all relate to. And so what we do in a client meeting, the way to use fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy is pay attention to each one of those emotions and how that's feeling in your body, because it's very good data, very, very good data to what's going on in the interaction. So if I'm selling coaching services to a client, I'm listening to what my fear is telling me or trying to tell me. I mean, honestly, like I talk about emotional intelligence, and I'm not great at it when I think about how good somebody could really be. I think all of humanity is kind of at this point where we're like grappling with our feelings and how to really use them well. So I think there's so much room for growth here, is what I'm saying, for each one of us. So in that client meeting, to be paying attention to that fear, and seeing, whoa, was that a fear that I had about like is that highlighting a limiting belief that I have about myself? Like, if I'm in this client meeting, am I maybe going to undersell myself, or am I going to try to oversell to make up for the fact that I feel insufficient? You know, and to kind of catch that thing and then say, wait a minute, what if I used the fear? I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I am insufficient. Maybe it's good that I have that fear. Maybe it's a helpful thing to notice where I'm not enough and what kind of support I would need. What's now I can use that in a way that's going to make deeper contact instead of trying to avoid the fear and look good. I'm like leaning into the fear and saying, oh, you know, well, here's what I know I can do well. Here's what my company delivers. Here's what my coaching services deliver. And is if I'm talking with a like small business, you know, what do your employees want? Where are they at? Are they open to coaching? What's the relationship like that you have? If I'm talking to a boss, what's your relationship like? How is this set up? And so there I can start to use my fear as a guide to lead me towards collecting more valuable information and then partnering with my client or prospective client. Because if I get into that and I'm like, hi, I don't know if this is a great fit or something, I want to explore that. And if I'm numb to my fear and I don't want to feel it, then I will resist feeling my fear and I will miss all kinds of valuable data. This is huge. I think this is huge. Like, I mean, if I'm honest with myself, I'm avoiding feeling my fear like a lot. And so I'm missing, it's helpful to me to just assume, okay, there's all kinds of data I'm missing. And so if I can just be a little more present with fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy, if I can be a little more present, that can make a big difference over the course of the day, over the course of the week, month, year, my life. So that's that's me riffing on your question, Miriam. Thank you again for that, for um, using soft skills with prospective clients. So again, want to get away from the game of trying to point out a pain point of my prospective client and then say, I'm the one who's going to fix that. That sets us up for, all kinds of problems. Instead, say, oh, I think I understand what your pain point is. And I think I'll be able to help you work through and change the things that you need to change in order to be effective with that, no longer have that pain point. That's a very different conversation. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you again for that question. I want to check in with I see some people, Siddiqui and Eric. I haven't seen you on a bit. It
How are
is,
you?
hey, I'm doing well. Oh, there you
Good to
are.
see you. How are you?
Good to see
How are
your
you?
face.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Wonderful. Wonderful to see you again.
Yes, yes, it's been a while. I am here on LinkedIn as usual on
Yes.
Wednesdays at noon,
Okay.
and recently launched my business. So
Oh, yeah.
it's very exciting times for me. What are you up to?
Well, I'm still doing what I've been doing for some time and very happy doing that. So I'm glad that you are in the new business and I wish you good success over there. And so that's wonderful start for you. Happy New Year and happy new start.
Thank you. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Well, fantastic. Well, Siddiqui, do you have any questions? Anything that you're wanting support with today?
Well, basically, what you just told about the emotional points and how to sort of communicate with the potential interviewer or that way anyone. I
Uh-huh.
think the important thing is that what we have always been doing that what we have to offer them. So I think the basic idea is always uh, that you have to see from the buyer's perspective of what they are looking for and how to sort of put yourself in a position of a giver. And so I think that works very well. If you can prepare yourself to impress your listener that there is something that you can offer for their problem solution or whatever, that works wonderful. So I think that's my 2 cents for your expertise in.
Thank you. Well, Siddiqui, thanks for
Welcome.
jumping in,
Yes.
and let us know if you have anything that you're working on that you're wanting coaching support with.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I enjoy your network and I love to interact with them. But yeah, my specialty is, drug development in pharmaceutical industry, and I'm doing that. So if there is anyone who has any question or would like to have a startup or has some questions about how to go into the pharma business or industry, I have
Uh-huh.
a lot of things that I can help and communicate. Thank you.
Great. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
Sure.
And good luck with that. I know it was a few years ago when we were talking that you had transitioned, and
Yes.
and it sounds like you landed and have been developing the next phase of what you're working on where you're at. So that's fantastic to hear.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, George. Good wishes to you too. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Welcome.
So, great. I'm gonna riff a little more on today's topic of emotional intelligence and remind everybody that you can jump in directly on Zoom. I love it when you do that, like Siddiqui and Eric and somebody who's on an iPhone. That way I can talk with you directly. If you can't do that, you can type your questions into the comment section on YouTube Live or LinkedIn Live, and Jane will get your questions over to me, and I'll do my best to answer them. So today we're talking about soft skills in the workplace, emotional intelligence. And I another thing that I thought of while sharing that last story was I was meeting with a mentor of mine, and he works in a complex organization. And I asked him, like, what do you really do? And he's senior level, he's got a lot of experience. He's got a successful business. I said, what do you actually do? And he said, it's a great question. You know, I basically translate. I basically help people understand what other people are saying. Now, this is all, everybody's speaking in English. So what does he mean by he's helps translate? Well, if you've got a bunch of software developers, and you got a bunch of finance people, then you got some CEOs running things, then you've got let's see what else. Some other engineers from like a different sector. And all in all, they all kind of speak their own language in their groups. And so they've got some complex things to bring together to realize, and it can get seriously slowed down when one communication going to another team gets muddled in the process, or they think they think they understand what the one department was saying, but they don't really. So they start building on that. And then all kinds of things come in where they want to look good. And they're like, we know what we're doing. And it's like, it's not even about whether you know what you're doing or not. It's like, is this going to work in sync with this other thing over here? Can these two things come together so that, this final goal is achieved? It's messy. And so when he said, I basically translate, I basically help people understand what other people are saying, and then make sure that like they both know that like they're on the same page. He had to do all kinds of other things to get himself into that position. He understands a lot of what they're talking about, but that he's able to pay attention to his fear, his hurt, his anger, his sadness, and his joy at a deeper level. It gives him insights into all kinds of things. He'll be able to catch when somebody kind of is angry about something and be like, oh, you know what? They didn't really understand, or they felt slighted. They felt like they weren't really acknowledged in this one thing. And I can tell that that other person doesn't know that they need to acknowledge this person. So I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to help that acknowledgement happen. I'm going to help this connection, this bond, be stronger. And that's going to play out in all kinds of ways in the future and how these two people or these two teams communicate. And so this skill, these soft skills, again, are something that we can learn at any time. And they will only help us be better at what we're doing, help us be more aware of ourselves and of the people around us. So I thought that would be a fun story to share. And Eric, if you're able to jump in, I'd love to touch base with you as well. It's been a little bit. We're in the new year. Oh, great. Hideki, blessings. Yes. Have a good time. Thanks for popping in. So good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Eric, how's it going?
It's been good. Um, I was given a couple other, um, I think I told you that uh, I had a manager who was relieved of duty. She was fired, or I don't know what happened, but she was no longer
Mhm.
with the company one day, or she was and then wasn't. So then we had a planner, very um, seasoned planner on our team, take on that manager role. And then when she left that desk, they basically split it in half and gave me half of her desk and left the other half of the desk to a new person coming into that role. So I've been learning those two new product groups that I'll be planning for. Both products that we supply to Tate and Lyle. So similar in that aspect, but then also vastly different just in terms of how they function, how they're made, um, how they're scheduled, all that stuff. So I've been learning that. That's probably really the biggest thing. Uh, I'm looking to start a new book. Well, not write one, but read. Hopefully, when it gets in, that I'm excited to start reading. It comes recommended from my mentor, so I'm looking forward
What,
to reading that.
what book is that?
So it is called "Brief: Make a Bigger Impact by Saying Less" by a Joseph McCormick.
Brief, make a bigger impact?
Brief: Make a Bigger Impact by Saying Less by Joseph McCormick. That is the title and author of the book.
Oh,
Have you read it or
I
heard of it?
have not, but this is like, I got to tell you, one of my favorite social and emotional intelligence assignments that is used in the groups, in some of the groups that I coach, is one called 3-word sentences. So
Right. We talked. I remember you giving. I've been trying to practice that on and off. There's been other
that's
things that have popped
right.
up, but I've been trying to practice that. It's not always been successful practice, but I have been trying to do that on and off.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm literally typing this into Amazon right now
But
to
yeah, so
for
yeah, it
that's
was when I last met with my mentor. He talked about how he also, was like me, where you know you get really wordy when you're talking and kind of ramble on a bit, and he picked up this book and read it, felt it really helped him. And so it's like, I got to pick it up and check it out and see what it's about.
fantastic. What did you notice when you were practicing speaking in 3-word sentences?
Well, my 3-year old still doesn't listen to me, so I picked that up. Uh, but I think it did help bring awareness to when I'm communicating, internally or externally with kind of the boundaries of my role and what I do. Uh, and I think even typing emails, kind of reducing the word count to kind of keeping that to a minimum. And, you know, if they need to follow up, they will, either in email or in person, whatever we're talking. But I think it has made an impact in kind of having me mentally realize what I'm doing and make that adjustment verbally or in writing.
Okay. Yeah. What do you notice? What do you feel? like if you're talking, do you catch yourself when you're getting wordy?
Uh, Not always, but it has become a bit more noticeable to me. Usually more so when I'm talking. With writing, it's kind of easy to see like, oh, hey, I've already written like two paragraphs, so I probably should cut that down to like two sentences. But I definitely think I've been more cognizantly, if I'm trying to articulate the right word, aware that I rambled too much this last time. So the next time that I talk, I need to cut it down or try to cut it down to less words, simpler words, maybe not simpler words, but at least less words. So I'm taking up less speaking time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Cool, cool. I I I suspect that the primary emotion that you're feeling when you're speaking, over speaking, is fear or anxiety. That's
Yeah, it's
just,
probably, I would guess probably more anxiety because I think a bit of a weakness is, it's one of those things where it can be a strength, but also a weakness is I'm a big people pleaser. So of course I want to try to give them as much explanation and background, and of course give them an answer and all the ways I'm working on it and blah 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 blah. When sometimes it's just I dig myself into a hole that I didn't need to dig.
yeah. Oh, I so relate. I so relate.
So
Yeah.
I definitely think doing the 3 word exercise has helped. I mean, it's still not great, but I think it lists kind of brings it more to the forefront mentally that I realize what I'm doing. So I'm able to at least, correct it on the next instance that it comes up. Maybe not always when I'm actively speaking, but at least allows me to mentally realize what I did in a previous speaking engagement or whatever and make adjustments for the next time.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool. I'm so stoked. I will probably order this book. Um, and I have a client I'm thinking of right now that I may send it to. So thank you for the tip. I
Yeah,
love the book.
yep. I'm gonna try to finish it. We next meet in March, my mentor and I, so I'm gonna try to finish up by then. It's apparently it's not a super brief book, ironically, but I guess what my mentor was telling me is that the author actually acknowledges that, but explains that it's kind of one of those things where you have to learn. He's writing out extensively how to talk brief because you have to understand how to not talk brief to talk more with more brevity, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Some of the books I remember reading for grad school were just like these monster philosophical books. It was like,
Right,
oh my gosh. But as I was in it, it was like, okay, this is literally reprogramming the way my brain works while I'm
right,
doing this. So this it's it was its own kind of delightful work.
right, right.
Well, cool, 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 cool. I'm excited about that. Now, you brought up something else that I sparked my interest, which is your 3-year-old listening to you.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it, and she, they say there's like the terrible twos and then the what the heck threes. Well, there's usually a different word. Uh, but she's always been very strong-willed, independent. Um, so I think she's just kind of going through a phase, but I think doing practicing that 3 word sentences, I think is kind of I think helping me and her because it gives her less to or there's less for her to like analyze, I guess, in a sense, or
Ooh,
have to think about where she can just be like, I'll be like, good day at school, even though I know that's technically four. Um, but kind of helps get a response out of her versus asking, how
Well,
was your
no,
day at school today?
yeah, notice that. Notice and but right there, even the good is implying to her that it should be good.
Yep, yep. No, I see what you're getting at.
How was school?
Yep. No, I see where you're getting at. No, and that's another good call out. Just another maybe not unnecessary word per se, but potential um, fat to be trimmed off of that three-word exercise.
Yeah, it is it's a thing. And
Yep, yep.
I could did I ever share with you um an experiment I've kind of been working on with kids?
It's not ringing a bell to me.
Okay. So this started years ago when I was um uh, kid sitting for a couple friends of mine.
Hmm.
So he was probably about 3. He was little. He wasn't really talking.
Right, right.
And they left and everything's fine. And then like literally as soon as the car pulls away, like he just goes
Yeah, that sounds all right.
and inside like just was completely terrified. And I was like,
Yep,
oh
yep.
no. Oh no. Like, do I have to call them right now? Like, is this all going downhill? Like, this is so embarrassing. Like, all of that flashed before my eyes. And I look over at him and I felt just horrible. And so what I did was I just started crying. And
Right.
I like,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're just looking at each other bawling. And then, like, at a certain point, he just kind of like furrows his brow and looks at me like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I've seen that there'll be like, meme videos on Facebook or the internet where, kids screaming or whatever, and then the adult starts screaming, and then the kid's like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you screaming? That's my thing.
So after doing that, then he was chill for the rest of the night and we just like hung out and did stuff and it
Right,
was
right.
totally fine. And I've now been working it with my dog. So because I was like, oh, I wonder what this will be like. So like if we're getting close to the park, especially when it's like super cold outside, I won't let him go into the water because I don't think he'll
Right.
know it. But like he was like freaking out. He's like
Right,
so
right.
So I just started doing the same thing. And then my wife starts doing it. And pretty soon, Mushroom is just like looking at us like, okay, fine.
Yeah, yeah.
The jig is up. So what do you make of that in terms of the like effectiveness, but also like what goes on between you and a kid or an adult and a kid in that emotional interaction?
Yeah, I think it's that mimicry that allows them to you gain a connection with them because you can't, court you can't be like, oh well, what's wrong, little Jimmy? You're quite morose. They're not gonna know what the heck you're talking about. But if you mimic, I feel like that gets you a connection to them on that emotional level that, says like you acknowledge their feelings, then they don't know how to react to it. So they're like it throws them for a loop. But I think the mimicry kind of helps build that or establish a connection that you couldn't necessarily do through just, trying to speak in normal words or normal language, so to speak.
That I like that. I like that. And as you were talking, I was thinking about as I say this, there's been times where I don't let my like where I it's kind of like I'm acting feeling upset and I'm not like real like it hasn't really like hit that level where I feel that kind of terror in my body. And that then it's like, oh, but once I let myself get to the same like authentic emotional level that they're at, then it works. Then they feel met, like what you were saying. They then I they
Right, right,
I think that's what's going on. It's like they're like, okay, I'm not alone in this fear or anger or hurt. Somebody's here with me and the like vibrating at the same level. Okay, great. And
right.
that
Well,
that
it's like
like the words
it's
don't
you
even
talk
need
about,
to have to be there.
yeah, it's like when you talked about your mentor, you're translating in that case. You know, you're translating from your language is just more complex than theirs, or at least we're talking about little kids. You're translating and speaking to them then on the same terms. So then now you can understand each other.
Yeah. Oh, this is okay. I like where this conversation is going. Because this is like, the soft skills. And so the way that if I'm able to tap into my feelings deeper and deeper, feeling and expressing them, like really, like, not just pretending. I mean, it's like acting. I think about like I was listening to a podcast talking about Oprah Winfrey and like her experience acting, and it was like it's so cool because it's like you get to be somebody else. You step into their shoes that you're feeling and like the tears are real. It's like that's my
Right,
mom is
right,
actually experiencing that as if this is reality. And so that we're able to do that, that I'm able to tap my fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy more deeply. And then I'm able to just by way, even if I don't even speak the same language, I'm able to communicate with other people. Like that's huge. So sweet. Eric, thank you for sharing that. I'm again looking forward to looking at this book and you know, continuing this journey of learning. I have a session coming up at 1, so I'm probably going to be getting off a little early here. Eric, is there anything else that you wanted to share or dig into today?
no, just I am continuing to look for kind of a new opportunity, ideally like a senior individual contributor or a manager type role. So if anyone knows anyone, I'm not industry specific, but if there's anyone looking, love a connection just to at least explore and see where it goes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Cool, cool. And I mean, we've been talking for a while, so you're in touch with recruiters, you're actively looking.
Yeah, I was kind of on a roll and then got COVID, so that kind of just slammed everything into the wall. But now kind of getting back to rhythm, I'm going to try to pick up a bit more on that and see where it goes. But no, I'm actively looking, actively applying. Um, see what happens.
Okay. Well, cool. Keep up the search. You've heard me say it more than once. The a lot of things are not it's not as active of a market. I had one
No,
client
yeah, yeah.
who looked for, he kind of was planning on 6 months. It was like, it'll probably take about 6 months. And when month 9 was coming around, he was like, now I'm starting to like really get worried. Month 10, And then he really found the thing that he was looking for, and so he turned down offers and things throughout the year. And it wasn't until month 10 that he started a conversation with the company that was like, oh, this is it. This is what I love. And this is where I want to develop. And the price is right. So keep looking, I want to acknowledge again that it's a long game right now.
Oh, yeah, I agree fully.
Well, cool. Well, Eric, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining in. I want to share a few links with you. Um, I have a new YouTube channel that is going to be specifically coaching related, leadership development. So we'll throw that YouTube channel in here. That is where these Career Lab Wednesday videos are being broadcast to. That's where you can go back and review them, and also find other content. I also am updating my website. My website will have more courses and things on there that you're able to participate in. So if you're a client of mine, going to my website's great because you can get some of the videos that I've sent you directly before. So you can go find those there. And for everybody viewing in, if we haven't talked one-to-one yet, I always like to connect. There's a link that we'll throw into the chat where you can set up a 15-minute call with me, and I'll do my best to serve you in that time. If ongoing coaching is something that makes sense, we can discuss that there too. And I think that's about it. I'll say I did launch a new course. It was an invite only, but if you're interested in group coaching paired with one-to-one coaching, it's incredibly effective for developing. It basically is why I do it. If that's something that you're interested in, you can talk with me about that as well. So again, I am George Miller. I'm broadcasting to you today from Chicago, Illinois, where I am so happy because it's really freaking cold outside and I am jumping in the lake every day, getting all that cold goodness while I can. And I will be back next Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Central. And until then, if you have questions or anything, reach out to me on LinkedIn or set up a time to talk with me. All right. Blessings, everybody. Take care. Happy 2024. I'll be in touch.